What's happening, everybody? Justin, Bridgewater's finest on YouTube, Blockbuster_guy on Twitter, and welcome to week 13 of my weekly NFL Picks show for the 2014-2015 NFL season. You'll notice I'm actually getting this video out a day earlier than I usually do, and that's also partially to make up for the fact that my video was a day late last week. Hatbox pointed out, at least I got a video out, which yes, absolutely, but like I say, I really like to stay on a schedule, so this is another give back for the fact that I was late last week. You're getting it a day early this week. Week 12 was a fairly good week. We'll go into the Week 12 results before we get into Week 13. I also really like the pace of my last video, so I'm going to try to keep the pace of the videos quicker. 15 minutes is not too much to ask, so let's see if we can't do that again this week. Let's get started. So we're going to start with the Week 12 Big 3 against the spread. Did not do very well at all. Matter of fact, I was lucky to get the one push that I got. I ended up going 0-2-1, so that was a really, really bad week and really puts me behind the 8 ball for the rest of the season. I told you to take Arizona plus 6.5. That did not work out. Seattle beat them very handily. They couldn't get the offense going all game. Told you to take Dallas minus 3, and that was the one that pushed. They won by exactly 3 points. Also told you to take Denver minus 7. That did not work out. They had a dogfight on their hands against Miami. So 0-2-1 there last week. 15-19-2 on the Big 3 against the spread on the season. Really going to be a struggle to pull that back up to 500, but we're going to do our best. Overall, in Week 12, though, against the spread, I did go 8-6-1, so that was a pretty good record for me for a week. 86-87-3 now on the season. I'm only one game under 500, pushing forward. Platinum, gold, silver, and bronze picks from Week 12. I went 3-1. I only missed one. I missed my silver pick last week. Bronze pick, I told you to take Green Bay to beat Minnesota. Closer than I thought, but it worked out. Green Bay wins 24-21. Eddie Lacy had a monster game last week. 27 touches, 138 all-purpose yards, found the end zone twice. Big game for Lacy. Packers win. Silver pick, which I missed. I told you to take KC to beat Oakland. Oakland finally gets their first win. Maybe hurts their chances a little bit to get the first overall pick, but we'll talk about that again a little bit later in our comment of the week. KC was only 2 for 15 on 3rd and 4th down, and that is not going to get it done, especially for a team that is in the very high caliber in the league in that category. So Oakland joins Jacksonville at 1-10. I wouldn't be surprised if that's the only game that Oakland wins this year, but good on the Raiders for winning. Gold pick, I told you to take San Francisco to beat Washington. That was a close game. 17-13, San Francisco ends up winning. Probably had no right to be as close as it was, but, the Redskins kept it close. And Washington led this game until about 3 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Carlos Hyde with the game-winning touchdown there late in the fourth. So San Francisco does win. Very close game. Big ups to Washington for keeping that game close. And the platinum pick, I told you to take Indianapolis to beat Jacksonville. This game was 6-3 Indianapolis at the half. Andrew Luck lost fumbles on, I believe, the first 2 possessions for the Colts. They turned it on again in the second half, and they win that game 23-3. Probably Luck's worst performance of the year in a game that probably should have been one of his better performances of the year. Like I said, the game was only 6-3 at half, but Indianapolis wins, so saved my platinum pick. So I got the platinum, got the gold, missed the silver, got the bronze. Those records stand at 10-2 for the platinum, 6-6 for the gold, and 8-4 for the silver and the bronze. Straight up in Week 12, I was 13-2. Huge week, 13-2, 110 up, 65 down, and 1 on the season. And taking a look at the private pick'em league, I moved up a couple of spots. I'm now in 14th place out of 40 with 931 out of 1,386 possible confidence points, a clip of 67%, getting back towards that magical 70%. Week 12, I pulled in 105 out of 120 confidence points. That is a clip of 88%. Shout out to our Week 12 winner, West of KC, with a come-from-behind win on Monday night, the Monday Night Miracle. West of KC was 12-3 last week, so one down from what I was, but they did manage their points a little better. 111 out of 120 possible confidence points. That's a clip of 93% in the week. That's a huge week. Fear the Falcon is still our overall leader, 120 up, 55 down, and 1 on the season. 988 out of 1,386 possible confidence points. That is a clip of 71%. So one more time, shout out to West of KC for winning Week 12, and to Fear the Falcon for still being the overall leader. I'm going to take this point in the video to remind you that if you go to the description of the video, you can find all my results from Week 12, all of my against the spread picks for Week 13, information on how to join the Bridgewater's Finest Pick'em pool, as well as links to other high-quality YouTube prognosticators who get their videos out on time and who also shave. All right, folks, let's get into the picks now for Week 13. Going to start, as always, with the big three against the spread. Of course, it's a big week in the NFL this week. Not only is it Week 13, getting towards the playoff picture, but it's Thanksgiving weekend, which means there is a triple header of games on Thursday. Those are the games that we're going to deal with here in the big three against the spread in celebration of Yankee Thanksgiving, which I like to lovingly call fake Thanksgiving because the real Thanksgiving is in October, like we celebrate here in Canada. My number 3 play on the big three against the spread this week comes in the Seattle at San Francisco game. San Francisco favored by 1.5 points at home, but I'm actually going to tell you to take Seattle on this one. Seattle plus 1.5 points. Now, the reason that I'm doing this is I trust Russell Wilson a whole hell of a lot more than I trust Colin Kaepernick. I've been critical of him pretty much all season. Even though this really goes against the spread trends for both of these teams in that it's Seattle's first time this season playing as an underdog. They've been favored in every single one of their games so far this year, I believe. San Francisco has, I believe, an above 500 against the spread record at home, and as favorites, very small favorites, I believe they're like 4-1 against the spread this year or something. I legitimately just think Seattle is the better team here. It's going to be a divisional game. It's going to be tight. It's going to be physical. It's going to be chippy. These teams do not like each other. I'm going to take Seattle here. My number 3 play on the big three against the spread, Seattle plus 1.5 at San Francisco. My number 2 play on the big three against the spread this week comes in the Philadelphia at Dallas game. Dallas is favored by 3 points at home, but one more time, I'm going to tell you to go with the dog. I'm going to tell you to take Philadelphia plus 3 at Dallas. The reason that I'm going with this is, honestly, this is a coin flip game to me. I really think either one of these teams can win. I don't think either team is going to be overly successful stopping the other team's running back. Arguably, Dallas has a better defense, and Philadelphia has really had trouble this year stopping those vertical plays, and Dallas is very good at that with Dez Bryant and Terrence Williams, and they have a lot of threats. Dallas hasn't played great at home this year. They've been great on the road. They've been almost, I think they might still be undefeated, but they've been virtually untouchable on the road. For some reason, I like Philadelphia here because I just feel like it's a coin flip game, and in the coin flip, I'd like to take the underdogs. If it's a close game, might work out for me too. Kind of playing a hunch there, but my number 2 play on the big three against the spread, I'm going to tell you to take Philadelphia plus 3 at Dallas. And my top play on the big three against the spread this week comes in the Chicago at Detroit game. Detroit favored by a touchdown at home, and that's the way I'm going to tell you to go. I'm going to tell you to take Detroit -7 versus Chicago. Reason for that being, it looks like the whole Bears team is dysfunctional, except for Matt Forte saying, I don't give a damn about the drama. I'm just going to play football, and boy, has he ever played football this year. But Cutler, I have very little faith in Cutler right now. You look at the two defenses, Detroit clearly has a better defense right now, and I think Stafford is going to be able to get back on the same page with these receivers. Golden Tate, they got to get Golden Tate rolling again. He played really well in Megatron's absence, and I really think Detroit should be able to walk away with this game. So for the top play on the big three against the spread this week, I'm going to tell you to take Detroit -7 hosting Chicago. Let's take a look at the platinum, gold, silver, and bronze picks for Week 13 in the NFL. We're going to start with the bronze pick, where again I am 8-4. My bronze pick comes in the New York Giants at Jacksonville game. Obviously, I'm going to tell you to take the Giants here, despite the fact that they're coming off the loss last week, which included the Odell Beckham possibly greatest catch of all time. There's a question for you. That's going to be my first question I'm going to ask you. Is the Odell Beckham catch the greatest catch in the history of professional football? But yeah, I'm going to take the Giants here. Too many weapons, even though some of the weapons have been underperforming this year. They kind of got Ruben Randle going a little bit in that game last week, and if they can roll Ruben Randle and Odell Beckham and Rashad Jennings and Andre Williams, they got a two-headed monster there running. So I'm going to tell you to take the Giants to beat the Jaguars, and that's my bronze pick. The silver pick, where I am also 8-4 this year, comes in the San Diego at Baltimore game. Now, I've been a pretty big defender of San Diego this year. I think they're a better team than their record would indicate. I think they're a better team than some of their performances would indicate. I really like San Diego. And I also obviously really like Baltimore. Baltimore, if I had to pick a favorite team in the NFL, they would probably be the closest one that I would pick, would be the Ravens. I'm a big fan of defensive football. What this comes down to is where the game's being played, and I've mentioned it on videos before. The game's in Baltimore. Baltimore's virtually untouchable at home. Baltimore's defense right now is playing as well as they have, as well as almost I've ever seen them play. I think that's going to be enough to handle what San Diego offers on offense, and Baltimore's offense offense playing really well lately. They're kind of getting Torrey Smith rolling again, which is really good to see. And it looks like they've got a pretty potent running game now. So I'm going to have to go with Baltimore there since it's being played in Baltimore. I'm going to tell you to take Baltimore to beat San Diego at home, and that's my silver pick. The gold pick, where I'm 6-6 this year, we're going to get this sucker over 500 this week. The Indianapolis Colts playing host to the Washington Redskins. Colts, of course, as I said, winning last week despite Andrew Luck having those couple of fumbles and not playing the greatest game I've ever seen him play, but it was certainly enough to beat Jacksonville. And, the fact that Indy's at home here, and it's against Washington, and Washington can't seem to do anything really well right now. Looks like maybe Robert Griffin III might be out here. I got to tell you to take Indianapolis here. I mean, it's Indianapolis all the way at home. Here's my second question for you, and it regards RG3. And I know everybody on the internet talks a lot about RG3, so I'm going to try to keep it brief. Is it right, or is it justified that RG3 is seemingly getting all the heat for his play? Jay Gruden, the coach of the Redskins, keeps saying, RG3's auditioned long enough. The Redskins' offensive line has let RG3 get sacked, 16 times in the last 3 games, but yet you're telling him to perform. Well, clearly you're not protecting him very well, or as well as you could be, but then you're also telling him to perform. So yes, quarterbacks have performed with bad offensive lines before. Does RG3 deserve all the heat that he's getting or not? I want to hear from you in the comments on that. And I'm going to take, obviously, Indianapolis here to beat Washington at home. That's the gold pick. And the platinum pick, where I am 10-2 on the season, comes in the Cincinnati at Tampa Bay game. I'm going to take Cincinnati on the road to beat Tampa Bay. Now, that does mean that Cincinnati would win 3 consecutive road games, which is an extremely difficult thing to do in the NFL. But I have no faith, really, in the Bucs on any level. They've surprised in a game or two this year, but they in general have not played overly well. Cincinnati's kind of starting to get it rolling again. They got a good run game with Jeremy Hill and Gio Bernard. They got AJ Green going again. They still got Mohamed Sanu, who is a big weapon. I just think this is Cincinnati all day. So I'm going to take Cincinnati on the road to beat Tampa Bay, and that is the platinum pick. All right, folks, now it's time to take a look at the rest of my straight-up picks for Week 13 in the NFL. It's a real tight one here with a couple of these games, especially Denver at Kansas City. Here they come. That's the Week 13 show for you, folks. Comments, hate, and love, you know where they go. Comment section below. It's time for the return of the comment of the week. Again, we didn't have it last week because I was trying to get the video out fairly quickly. We're going to get to the comment of the week again this week. The comment of the week this week comes from Jackie Boy, who has been a viewer of mine for a couple of seasons now, NFL Stats Man on Twitter, and it was in reference to Oakland and the number 1 pick, as I mentioned before. His first comment was Oakland and the number 1 pick. The question is, who would they trade with and what would be the price? Usually, when somebody wants to jump to the number 1, it's because they want a QB. The problem is there really isn't a great QB out there, and before you say Jameis Winston, the guy has more issues than most Marvel characters. That is a great comment. I loved that bit of it. And they might have very little trade value. Most of the usually struggling teams that will likely have picks right behind Oakland are set at quarterback. So teams like the Jets, Tennessee, Buffalo, who might want a QB, won't have to move up. The quarterback will fall to them. But Oakland trading picks is always fun to watch. Remember when they traded away a first and second rounder for Carson Palmer, and a few years later they traded him to Arizona for a 6th. Classic Raiders. I replied to that just kind of saying, what about a team like the Rams, the problems with Sam Bradford and things like that. Jackie Boy replied to that by saying, Sam Bradford has been Mr. Glass since his college days. They can't trade him, because who wants to give up picks on a guy who will fall to bits, and he's still getting mega money from his rookie contract. And even if they could trade him, almost all the other teams are set at quarterback. Bradford is signed up until the end of 2015, so you'd think they'll start him next season and see how things go. It's a good idea, that being Oakland trading the number 1 pick, but every team tries to shop the number 1 pick and they never get the price they want. Maybe we should have faith in Oakland. They did fine when they last had the number 1 pick in 2007. So for all of that, Jackie Boy gets our comment of the week this week. We came back in fine fashion. That's going to be the whole show for you folks. Justin, Bridgewater's Finest on YouTube, Blockbuster_guy on Twitter. Remember to answer those 2 questions for me in the comment section below, and we will see you again for week 14.